Hello and welcome back to Microbial Concepts. So we had started with virology and this is second video in which we will discuss about M protein and helical symmetry. Okay, in first video, that is introduction to virology part 1, we had covered the general structure of virus and properties. Okay, so do check that video on my channel and you will also find the link in description box. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so this is a classification criteria or a simple flow chart where you will see that depending on nucleic acid, depending on symmetry of capsid, and depending on whether the viral structure or viral particle is naked or enveloped, the classification is done. Okay, then last is even the type of nucleic acid, that is whether it is single stranded or double stranded or positive sense or negative sense of RNA. Okay, so depending on that, you will see here few examples with family names are given here. So you can refer these for writing your answer and at least try to give 3 from RNA and 3 examples from DNA. Okay, you can also do it like for icosahedral, one for helical, one for complex, one example. Okay, so today we are going to study the symmetry of capsid. Okay, we had already covered the nucleic acids and envelope and capsid in general in part 1, and in today's video we will talk about the symmetry classification in short. Then we had studied capsid, nucleic acid and envelope, but there is one more part, that is matrix protein. Okay, so in some of these viruses you will also find matrix protein. So what is that? So it is a structural protein that links the viral envelope with the virus core. Okay, so in the core you will find this matrix protein. It interacts with the ribonucleoprotein, that is RNP complex, as well as with the viral membrane. They are found in many enveloped viruses. Examples are paramyxovirus, orthomyxovirus, herpes viruses, and retroviruses. They play a crucial role in virus assembly. For example, in rhabdovirus, binding of M protein to nucleocapsid is important for the formation of a bullet-shaped virion, that is rabies virus. Okay, so in the given picture below you will see that after envelope there is matrix protein, okay, and then there is ribonucleoprotein, that is RNP. Okay, so this is about matrix protein. So in case of influenza virus, M1 protein, that is matrix protein, it has multiple regulatory functions performed in association with the components of the host cell. Okay, so they play a very important role in export of viral ribonucleoproteins from the host cell nucleus, then in inhibition of the viral transcription. Okay, they inhibit viral transcription in the virus assembly and in budding of the viral particles. Okay, it plays very important role. It is bifunctional, means there are two functions. The affinity to the glycoproteins inserted in the host cell membrane on one side, and the affinity for the RNP complex molecules on the other side. Okay, so it has affinity towards the glycoproteins for the host cell membrane, and it also has the affinity for the RNP complex molecules on the other side. Okay, so it forms a layer under the patch of host cell membrane and it facilitates budding of the mature virus. Okay, so this is the later stage when the viral particle is mature, and now it has to come out of the infected cell. It will come by budding. Okay, it will get out by budding. Okay, so it helps or it facilitates the budding of mature viruses. Okay, so this was about matrix protein. Next point is, we'll see Watson and Crick did more than just the discovery of DNA structure, right? So in 1956 they pointed out that most virus particles are spherical or rod shaped by electron microscopy. Okay, EM stands for electron microscopy. So now they knew that particles were made with many copies of few proteins. Okay, they didn't know about which proteins, so it is just mentioned they are made up of many copies of few proteins. Okay, so viral proteins have structural properties that permit regular and repetitive interaction among them. Okay, so they have structural properties means related to their assembly to form a capsid or to form an envelope. Okay, this point is related to the formation and development, right? Because you see repetitive structures, correct? So we are now going to study about the architecture, viral architecture. Okay, so the subunit construction. If one protein for one capsid, then a structure will need more than 18,000 amino acids. Okay, a small virus can hold max of 5,000 nucleotides. Okay, so must use many copies for more, or we can say must use many copies of one protein or for few proteins. Okay, so one copy for many proteins, right? Because this is a huge number, 18,000 amino acids, but the nucleotides are just 5,000, correct? So they must use copies for one protein, many copies for one protein. Okay, so the self assembly is the second point. So experiments by Conant and Williams in 1955 was done, which showed that TMV virus it spontaneously formed when mixtures of purified coat protein and its genomic RNA were incubated together. Okay, so it spontaneously it formed its structure. Okay, or the assembly, self assembly was done spontaneously when the purified coat proteins and the genomic RNA they were incubated together. Okay, so the coat proteins they started assembling around the RNA. Okay, this is the self-assembly which was observed by Williams in 1955. This means that the structure of TMV it adopts is self-ordered and therefore it corresponds to a minimum free energy. Okay, so this is the study related to the energy. Okay, so minimum free energy is required. Next is fidelity. So RNA, DNA and protein synthesis are all subject to occasional error, correct? Because there can be some mistakes done while RNA replication, DNA replication. Okay, so by using a smaller protein and hence gene, it means there are less chances of error occurring. Okay, lengthy DNA means there are many chances for mistake, correct? So the viral structures you find there are small proteins or smaller number of genes which lessens the chance of error occurring. Okay, the next is economy. The correct structure can be formed with the minimum of waste, since if a subunit is synthesized or folded incorrectly, then only a small unit has to be discarded. Okay, as there are smaller genes, smaller gene number or smaller proteins present, so if there is any mistake in a smaller subunit, then only that small part or the small subunit has to be discarded, not the entire gene, not the entire protein, correct? So this is how the viral structure economy goes. Okay, so next is complexity. So there are physical constraints which prevent the tight packaging of say an octahedron or tetrahedron. Okay, so this is about the number of subunits which are used for the structural development, right? As we are talking about viral architecture. Okay, so each and every part or each and every subunit or protein plays a very important role in packaging or developing the structure. Okay, so if you put crudely, the holes between the subunits will be too big or particle will be too leaky. Okay, so you just cannot do things randomly. Okay, if the subunit or the particle becomes too big, then there may be some mistakes or the particle may get too leaky. Okay, so the structure has to be compact and it has to be in a particular uh, symmetry or in a manner, correct, to prevent these mistakes like getting a particle leaky. Okay, so small number of contacts would be insufficient for stability. right? So the large the number of subunits, the more stable the virus becomes. Okay, the large the virus particle, the bigger and more complex its genome can be. Okay, so the virus particle, if it is large, if it is big, then the genome of the virus is complex. Okay, then about the development or about the arranging the subunits for making the structure is very important. That is what the complexity explains. Next is rule of symmetry. Okay, so this is the important part and you get questions mainly on rule of the symmetry. Okay, so there are three types in symmetry, that is icosahedral, complex and helical. Okay, mostly you find viruses under these categories. So what are the rules for symmetry? Let's see first that. So each subunit has identical bonding contacts with its neighbors, right? So the let's consider a triangle. Okay, so a triangle has three vertices. Okay, so all three vertices will connect with the other three vertices, okay, of the another triangle. Okay, so this is what the identical bonding contact means. So repeated interaction of chemically complementary surfaces at the subunit interface naturally leads to a symmetric arrangement. Okay, so this is the repetitive interaction of chemically complementary surface. Okay, this gives or this leads to a symmetric arrangement. Okay, so this is how you get a symmetry, say icosahedral or helical. Okay, then next is second rule is these bondings, which can be a protein-protein, protein nucleic acid or protein lipid, they contacts are or these contacts are usually non-covalent. Okay, non-covalent bonding you will find in rule of symmetry for viruses. Then the symmetry second rule is the arrangement can be irreversible, error-free assembly. Okay, so these are the rules of symmetry. Next is what are the types. So first is helical, which is rod or thread-like appearance. You can see the example is given, that is tobacco mosaic virus. Okay, so rod-like structure. Even Ebola is example of helical symmetry. Then next is isometric or icosahedral, which are similar to spherical appearance. Okay, so the example is adenovirus. And third is irregular or complex, with means without clear symmetry. Okay, you cannot classify them as icosahedral or helical. Okay, so example is bacteriophage, that is T4. Okay, so let's study these symmetries in detail. So first is helical symmetry, right? So the example is tobacco mosaic virus or Ebola. Okay, so many biological components have adopted a helical structure. Okay, DNA, then energetically favorable and can allow flexibility, that is they can bend but they don't break. Okay, the simplest way to arrange irregular identical proteins would be around a central axis to form a disk. Okay, so I will show the image in next slide about what this point means, that there is a axis, okay, and you go putting your disk on that. Okay, so that's how actually the arrangements for helical symmetry are done. Okay, then disk could then be stacked with the genome in the middle. Okay, so the axis that we um, considered, you can say that that can act as a genome. Okay, and around that or surrounding the genome, other stakings of disk are done. Okay, so it will form a cylindrical shape, right? Then helical viruses form a closely related spring-like helix instead. Okay, so spring-like structures you will observe in case of helical symmetry, right? Then they may envelop or non-envelop. Okay, so they may be enveloped, means they can have an envelope or they can be naked. So all animal viruses that are helical are enveloped. Most helices are formed by a single major protein arranged with a constant relationship with each other or to each other. Okay, so first is amplitude diameter, the pitch by each complete turn of helix. They can be described by their pitch, that is P in nanometers. Okay, so this is the formula to study how the arrangements in the helical symmetry for envelope or non-envelope structures are done. Okay, so P is equal to M into P. Okay, so where M is number of protein subunit per helical turn, and the smaller p, small letter p, is the helical rise per subunit. Okay, that is distance along helical axis between subunits. Okay, this will give you the pitch. Okay, the coat protein molecules, they engage in identical equivalent interactions with one another and with the viral genome to allow constructions of large stable structure from a single protein subunit. Okay, so the coat protein is also important as it engaged in identical and equivalent interactions with one another. Okay, so coat protein, here we can consider it as capsid because that is what is covering the genome. So these are some examples. So here you can see the first example is of enveloped helical nucleocapsid. Okay, so this is what we studied in the previous slide, that even the helical viruses, they may have envelope. Okay, or some may be naked. So the first example is of enveloped helical nucleocapsid virus, that is measles virus. Okay, then next is tobacco mosaic virus. So here you can see there is a central axis, okay, around which there is genome, okay, and to that genome the surrounded subunits you can see are of coat proteins. Okay, so the disc like appearance uh, or disc are arranged around the genome. Okay, this gives the structure cylindrical symmetry, cylindrical appearance, okay, and helical symmetry. Third is electron microscopy of influenza filamentous particle. Okay, so this is about, the picture is of influenza virus, TMV. Okay, so this is about TMV, that is tobacco mosaic virus, which is a RNA virus. Okay, the coat proteins are not arranged symmetrically but are arranged helically. Okay, typically they are 15 to 19 nanometer wide. Okay, you can see that here in picture. The red line is the RNA and the yellow shapes are TMV coat proteins. Okay, the length depends on the size of genome, but they are say 300 to 500 nanometer is within the normal range, right? The structure of TMV, that is tobacco mosaic virus, can be described in terms of number of subunit per turn of helix. That is, there are 16.3 number of subunits per turn. Okay, the pitch or rise per turn of the helix is 2.28 nanometers. Okay, so this was the formula which we studied in the previous slide, that is capital P is equal to M into small p. Okay, so we had done that in previous slide, and the axial rise per subunit is either 0.14 nanometers. Okay, so not necessary to remember this and write all these details in your exam, but try to draw this figure and mention about helical symmetry as many points as you can. Okay, if you skip this point for pitch and rise per turn, then it is okay, it is considerable. Okay, all known filamentous virus are helical. Okay, so below you can see example of Ebola virion. Okay, so other examples of enveloped virions of RNA viruses with negative sense single-stranded RNA are: first is rabies virus, then second is influenza, and third is Ebola virus. Okay, so Ebola virus, remember it has negative sense single-stranded RNA as its genome. Okay, so you must try to remember the family name. Okay, so Filoviridae is for Ebola virus, then Orthomyxoviridae for influenza virus, and Rhabdoviridae for rabies virus. Okay, so try to remember these simple or generally used examples. Okay, so it will make you easy to remember and write answers, give examples during your exam, right? Okay, so this was all about the symmetry and matrix protein today. Even we had touched the viral architecture points. Okay, so thank you for watching, and like, share and subscribe to my channel. Okay, till then, bye bye.